It's up to you, New York, New York. All right. Sorry about the delay. We are back. Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast. Corey, do you hear me?
Yes, sir. I sure
Okay.
do.
Don't ask. I don't know what happened. What I do know is that I was walking into the back of my house and I almost fell into this massive wooden toy chest that I just recently put out here that I keep forgetting is out here. And in the process of
Oh,
doing that, I somehow kicked myself out of StreamYard. It's the Richie
oh,
Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast. I am your host, Richie. Uh, wow. With me, my guy, Mr. Corey Rain, out in Hollywood, Florida. Tonight, it's all about the American League East.
bloodbath, the war division.
Yeah, yeah, a lot of storylines coming into this season. You have a Toronto Blue Jays team ever so close to winning their third world title, falling short in seven hard-fought games to the Los Angeles Dodgers. Our beloved New York Yankees, with the same record as the Jays, ended up succumbing to the Jays in round two, the divisional round. A lot of scrutiny around the Yankees. Some feel that they haven't done enough with the roster. We're going to hit on them, of course. Boston Red Sox, after kind of floundering until the latter months of the season, really turned it on, got into the playoffs, and had the Yankees playing two consecutive elimination games before losing to the Yankees, in large part due to Cam Schlittler. Uh, Baltimore Orioles, after making the playoffs 2 years in a row, last year was a year to forget for them, but they're bringing in some big muscle in Pete Alonso. So we're going to find out if the Orioles can get back to getting used to winning. And the Rays, well, they're the Rays.
Yep. And, the Rays are a savvy team. They're very resilient, but is this the year that they're finally terrible? I don't know.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I can honestly say the Rays were terrible. You probably got to go back to the end of Joe Madden, but it's been a hot minute. And we're going to actually start with the Tampa Bay Rays. Actually, you know what? Let's start with the Orioles, since the Orioles, after all, were last in this division a year ago. Baltimore Orioles, I like the Pete Alonso pickup for them. I actually thought initially going into this season that Alonso was actually going to end up with the Boston Red Sox. I think what shocked me is that the Mets didn't make this man any kind of real offer, that they were at peace with moving on from Pete. And I personally think that was kind of stupid.
I totally agree. I actually thought that he would be a Red Sox too. I thought they were very disappointed they missed out on him, as were the fans. It's a big move for Baltimore. And they've got Pete Alonso. They've got not only is he impactful with his numbers, his presence is amazing, veteran leader, and they're hoping on some health for their young core because a lot of that was an issue last year. So
Yes, definitely going to put a lot of stock into their young core. Adley Rutschman, definitely a guy that Orioles fans are hoping has a bounce back year. Going into last year, he was one of the better catchers in all of baseball, but he took quite a step back last year, as did Gunnar Henderson. You didn't get the kind of contributions that I think many thought that you were going
right.
to get from those two players. I know that you mentioned this guy before, Samuel Basalo, a guy that you're a fan of. Tell our viewers a little more about this guy.
He's got a really short swing. He's got tremendous power. I believe he's one of the top 10 prospects in baseball. Um, and him hitting ninth is kind of amazing to look at.
For
But
sure.
I think Gunnar Henderson was injured last year a little bit. That affected his
Yes.
play a bit. Rushman needs a big bounce back. He was obviously the second coming when he first came up. But Jackson Holiday, X factor in my opinion.
Yeah, Holiday, according to this projected lineup, going to be hitting leadoff for these guys. That's baseball lineage right there. That's Matt Holiday's son, former Yankee legend. Just kidding. That's something that Met fans will probably say because with the pettiness going on in the Met Yankee trash talk groups. But
Right.
no, Gunnar Henderson, Jackson Holiday, Adley Rutschman definitely got to step up because I do think that Big Pete is going to take this opportunity to have a huge season. And I was thinking about this too, Corey. When you think about the best right-handed power bats in all of baseball, you think Aaron Judge at the top. Then I would think, you're probably thinking about Vlad Guerrero Jr. And then you got this guy, who it's crazy that the way the Mets let him walk. This
It
guy
is.
is the franchise leader in home runs, breaking that record held for many years by Darryl Strawberry. It's wild. It really is.
I, I think it's a big mistake because he's the heart and soul of your team. He might be, some people will say David Wright and Strawberry, but he's no worse than third best player in your team history, non pitcher.
Yeah,
So
non-pitcher
yeah,
for sure, because that would go, of course,
yes,
to Tom Seaver. But yeah, you
yeah.
think
So
Alonso, Piazza, and Wright. Are you talking position players?
yep. And Strawberry's up there too, but yeah,
Yeah, Keith Hernandez, Darryl Strawberry, Garrett Carter, all worthy of being on that list. And pitching wise, Cone was good with them, Darling was good with them, but nobody is seeing Tom Seaver. Tom Seaver was that dude.
one of the best ever, any team, any era.
And Brooklyn-born John Franco, I'll give a shout to because he was their closer for a hot minute. But back to the Orioles. Corey, how do you see this year playing out for them? Do you think that they can uh, get to that next level and figure it out?
Yes, I do. Do I think they're going to win the East? No, but I see them as kind of a wild card team. I do think their rotation got better. Is it elite? No, but I do think it got better. I like the addition of Hazley for the bullpen, former Cardinal, and I believe in their lineup. It's going to take some, bounce backs, but I do believe that Henderson is one of the best players in baseball. Alonso is one of the best impact power bats in baseball. So really, it comes down to the others, Holiday, Rushman. What are those guys going to do? And that's going to make or break their season in a lot of ways.
And how do you feel about this team's rotation going into the year?
It's better. They got Shane Baz. They got Shane Baz, and then I'm trying to think who else they have.
Yeah, I know that
I don't think.
over the course of the last couple of years, they lost some marquee names, but
Yeah, they don't have like that shutdown ace, in my opinion.
correct. And I also question if the pen is going to be as talented as in
Right.
previous years too. That's also going to be a key to getting these
Exactly.
guys.
But
Um,
yeah, they're not winning 75 games. No way.
no, they'll do better than that. I actually can see them reversing their record. I'm going to
Right.
tentatively give them 87 and 75, barely missing the playoffs. I'm going to have them barely missing.
I think that's fair. And I think I would give them a similar record, but I have them probably a fringe wild card team. You know?
Okay, so you got them a little closer to 90, possibly.
Yep.
I know
Yep.
Boston made it last year with 89.
Yeah, 88, 89, wild card.
Oh, all right. So you got them in the wild card. I got them barely missing. We're gonna hit on the Tampa Bay Rays. 77 to 85 last year, but you could tell that the legal ramifications of the Wander Franco situation, who was truly their best option to potentially be a generational player, he's no longer a part of that team. I mean, he is and he isn't. From what I heard, he's still essentially under contract because of the whole litigation of the legal situation, but we don't know what's going to happen yet. If he's ever going to be back, you know, you see the Trevor Bauer situation, what happened there. I
Right.
personally think that he got railroaded, but that's just my opinion. But
Yeah,
I don't feel that have the same sentiments with this Franco situation. This is just a bad thing all the way
yeah.
around.
He didn't get railroaded or bamboozled. He actually is guilty, and I don't think he's ever coming back. And it's a shame in multiple ways because obviously he did wrong, but he was a generational talent, face of the franchise kind of guy. But and now it's like, oh, I
Yeah,
view the
it's
Rays.
crazy.
Yeah, I view the
He
Rays as
was
the last place too, for sure.
Yeah, they're definitely going to finish last. You just mentioned Shane Baz over in Baltimore. They also lost Lau. Uh, Cedric Mullins is one of their newer additions. That's a guy that I think if he doesn't play well this year, people are going to forget about him similarly to the way they forgot about Tim Anderson. By the way, I did see a Tim
Absolutely,
Anderson jersey outside today, which I kind of found to be slightly comical.
that's really funny.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
had playfully told namesake of the show, Jordan Patrick, give that guy the 1-2 and yell Jose Ramirez. But yeah, Tampa 77-85 last year. I hate to do it to them, but I'm going to. 70 wins this year. Tops. I don't have them winning more than 70.
I got them 72 wins at best. At best. Their lineup has a couple of really good hitters,
I
and
do
then
like Junior
a lot of bad.
Caminero and
Yes.
Jonathan Aranda, but after that, it's
Yes.
slim pickings.
Yep. Those two guys is exactly who I'm talking about. Yandy Diaz is solid, but not going to move the needle. And then you just have the rest is just it's pretty bad. Cedric Mullins is terrible now. He used to be an all-star.
Yeah, the
Yep.
stuff with Cedric Mullins, I thought he was going to be a key component to that second half run that the Mets were supposed to have, but ultimately he just didn't fit into Queens. and now he finds
Wow.
himself in Tampa. And this is his last chance. The one positive for a guy like Mullins is I do think that the Trop actually plays to his talents, and I think
I agree.
the pressure is way off. If there's
Oh yeah.
anything to be happy about, it's that the pressure should be way off him. As the Rays are just flat out ignored. I'm happy that they're getting their ballpark back. I'm also happy that the greater plan is to keep them in Tampa. So that's a good thing too.
It's a good thing. I while I do think they're going to be last place and bad, I don't think that they're going to quit or not play hard. They're going to compete, and you know they'll end up on the wrong end of results, but they're going to play the right way regardless.
Yeah, I'm with you, Corey. I tend to agree. I think Kevin Cash over the years has done such an admirable job getting more out of not a lot. But, similar to what Don Mattingly had to deal with the other Florida team, Miami, you could only overcompensate for so long. And this is a team
Right.
that doesn't exactly cash in on the luxury tax thresholds that occasionally teams like the Orioles, Yankees, and Red Sox, and even the Blue Jays for that matter, trickle down. The Rays
It's
never
impressive.
hold on to talent.
I think it's impressive that they compete because they're smart in their acquisitions. Their owner just won't spend. So you don't have the luxury of covering up holes with money. You have to make smart trades and you have to draft well. And
And to be fair,
yeah,
too, to anybody who's been to the Trop, very rarely is that place over 50% capacity. And
well,
usually the only time that it is when you get like diehard fan bases like the Yankees, Red Sox, teams like that. Usually your Northeast diehard fans when they are in town. But the
exactly.
reality is it's few and far between, and it's only a couple of series a year. The place is usually jumping when the Yanks are in town because that is the Yankees' home away from home in many ways because they do play actually in Tampa in the spring, whereas the Rays are called Tampa, but they play in St. Pete. And, being a Floridian now, I can tell you that that drive to 275 is brutal. And while I do like
Right.
going to watch a baseball game, the reality is that just know that you're going to be there a while and pack your lunch, things like that.
Right.
And
I
the other
think,
thing too, this is where the expedited baseball games don't appeal as much because when you make that long journey, I'm not going to lie, that's the one thing I don't like about the expedited baseball games. If I'm going to one now,
right. You don't have time to go to the concessions as much, that kind of thing.
yeah, it's a little different now, definitely. And I felt it when I went 2 years ago. Uh, the year we had Soto. It was right before the Yankees locked in that Baltimore series and then just kind of had a strong finish. But I'll be honest, when I left St. Pete watching the Yanks that day, well, actually, I didn't leave. I had an Airbnb. Point is, when the game was over, the Yankees weren't striking me as a team that was hurting anything. Ultimately, they won the pennant.
Right.
So you never really know how things are going to shake out.
Yeah.
Boston Red Sox, our favorites. Just kidding. 89 and 73 last season, lost to our New York Yankees in the divisional round in three hard-fought games. It was a very dramatic series. Um, the Yankees could have won it in two. The Red Sox definitely had their moments where it looked like they were going to win the series. I remember watching game one last year, and when Aroldis Chapman got in trouble and was able to get out of a bases loaded jam, I was like, damn, Lady Luck is on their side. We're screwed. And the Yankees
Yeah.
responded well. And Cam Schlittler, what he was able to accomplish in last year's playoffs, we're going to hit on the Yankees, but they kind of intertwined with the Red Sox. But let's just say that I hope his lat is not a problem for the whole season because he was sensational against these Red Sox. And what I like about these Red Sox, they really, in my opinion, have the strongest infield in the entire American League East. Defensively, I think they really did a good job despite losing Alex Bregman. I think this team is going to be very good.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're really good. They upgraded the rotation. They got Gray, and you can say he's not, the Gray of old, but he's going to provide stability. And I think Suarez is a really talented, underrated pitcher. So they have one of the best pitchers in baseball in Crochet. Um, their lineup is going to depend on some help from some young guys, some performance from some young guys like Mayer. Um, they added Wilson Contreras. They wanted Alonso, but Contreras is solid.
Yeah, I share your
So I,
sentiments on that. He definitely
I
is
think they're
solid.
go- I think they're going to hit. I think they're going to be pesky like they were last year. Um, they're going to compete in the division for sure. I have them winning 91 ish around there.
Okay.
Yeah.
It wouldn't shock me to be honest with you, Corey. I actually could see that coming to fruition. I got them finishing second in the division. I understand that the Blue Jays made the playoffs last year, but I think this Red Sox team's going to hang around this year. And one thing that I hate to give credit for, but I have no choice but to, Alex Cora, in my opinion, is the best manager in this division and possibly the best manager in the American League.
Good point. I think there's a couple of guys that could be in that argument, but I won't
Yeah, a
dismiss that.
guy that I loathe, AJ Hinch, regardless of what I think about him, he's a damn good manager as well.
Yes.
And
So is Snyder in Toronto. I think he's very good.
oh yeah, John Schneider, terrific in Toronto. And managing matters because sometimes it's the difference between winning those 5 or 6 games that gets you in or gets you out. Because making the right decisions in crunch time is something that does occasionally get overlooked, but it is invaluable. And over the years I've been a huge critic of our guy Aaron Boone, but
Yes.
yeah, this Boston team final tally. Let me think about this. What did they win? 89 last year. Give me 92. 92 wins. Second place for the Boston Red Sox. Second place in the East.
I got 91, third place.
All right. But you got them getting in, right?
Yeah, I got him getting in. It's going to be so close. It's going to be like the East is going to be like down to the last day of the
Yeah, the
year type of thing.
separation between I think the Yanks and the Sox this year is going to be like paper thin. That's my genuine opinion. I don't think anybody this year is going to win 100 games in this division again. I stand by that, but I do think that at least two of these teams could win the World Series, possibly three. This is last year's World Series runner-ups. I'm talking about the Toronto Blue Jays, 94 and 68 last season. They won the American League East. They lost the World Series in 7 hard-fought games against those Dodgers that just refused to quit. Vladdy Guerrero definitely taking that next step into being a consistent superstar. He really had a hell of a postseason. I like the fact that they brought back Max Scherzer super recently. It's a guy that I actually wanted the Yankees to take a flyer on. They also bring in Dylan Cease to join Trey Savage. Trey Savage was just filthy, filthy against our New York Yankees. The guy was damn near unhittable for a minute there. But I do think this team's going to miss Bo Bichette, and I was actually quite surprised that they let Bichette walk.
I think they'll miss him too. Uh, I I know they signed the Japanese player. What's his name?
Yes,
Okamoto. Yeah,
yes, yes.
and he's super talented, but an unknown. So they're banking on him replacing Bichette. Um, their lineup is still going to be great. Pesky, just their lineup is like being in a boiler room and you're going 12 rounds with Ali or Foreman. Like it's a whale of a time to face that team.
Yes, I tend to agree. There's talent all over the place. Guy pictured here, Alejandro Kirk, one of the more underrated catchers in the game of baseball. He's tough behind the plate. He always calls a good game. I think for a guy that takes a physical beating, he really has made some huge leaps towards his craft at hitting, and he is one of those guys that you could bank on to get a clutch hit.
Absolutely. And they've got some nice young pieces too. They got Barger, Clement really came on in the postseason. They just have gamers, guys
Yeah,
that are willing
guys,
to
guys that are going to work the count, guys that last year in those playoffs just seemed to have ice in their veins. This is a team that didn't
and
panic. American League
they don't
Championship, they went down 0-2 and they came back.
they don't strike out. That's important. But the one caveat I will say is the emotional loss and the pain, is that going to linger? Is it going to motivate them, or is it going to make them suffer? That's going to be interesting because that's one of the most heartbreaking losses of all time, in my opinion.
I'll be honest with you, Corey. Been watching baseball a long time, and
Same.
with the exception, in at least in my lifetime, of the Atlanta Braves losing in Game 7 at the old Metrodome to the Minnesota Twins, where Jack Morris threw a 10-inning gem. I remember it vividly. One of my first World Series experiences where I really honed in on all the games. Um,
1991.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. That was a hell of a World Series. Another heartbreaker a decade later, New York Yankees up 3-2, going to Arizona, not being able to finish the deal. You talk about ever so close. Alfonso Soriano, his home run late, I thought that was going to put the Yankees to a four-peat,
Yeah,
but
they
it
were.
just wasn't meant to be.
Was it meant to be? One of my first sports heartbreaks after '95. Um, I also look at 2011. Texas was what, one strike away from winning, and then David Freese.
Yeah, the Nelly Cruz Carnival in the outfield. I'll put it to you like this: don't talk to our guy Mike Zappi about that one. I think the pain has been alleviated now that he finally won a World Series, but
Yeah,
that was brutal. And I was pulling for the Rangers because they're American League team. It's rare that I will pull for the National League. I think
right.
the only time in my life that I could say that I did that was when the Chicago Cubs were in there back in 2016. And maybe as a youngster when the Reds played the A's, because back then the A's just didn't move me. I was a bit of a hater on the Canseco McGuire Bash brother situation, and I just was never someone who cared for Tony La Russa, even though he's a great manager. So I just didn't like them. And
That team was really cocky.
yes, yes. And I get it. They went to three consecutive World Series, but when you only win one, you pale in comparison to what happened with that organization back when our man Reggie played there.
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah, the A's. It's wild how the A's don't really have a home at the moment. But when you talk
Right.
about baseball history and
They're up there
overall
with the Rays.
success, yeah, and a lot of casuals are not going to name drop the Athletics. Of course, everybody
Yeah.
knows about the success that the Cardinals, the Yankees, the Dodgers have, things like that. But I don't think too many people are going to just fly off the top and be like the A's. But the A's have done a great deal of winning, and I think once they
Yeah.
get fortified in their new home, hopefully, they get back to being who they were, because I find them a lot more tolerable now than I did in the 80s and early 90s. That's for sure.
I think they're coming. They've got a young core, and they've got a amazing talent in that lineup. They're coming. It's going to be a problem for Seattle and Houston and all those guys. Not right now because their ballpark is still really compromising for pitching. But when they go to Vegas, they're going to be a problem.
Yeah, I tend to agree, Corey. I do think they're going to be a problem. As these Blue Jays go, I'm going to go as far as saying I think Trey Savage is a legitimate candidate to win the Cy Young Award this year. Um, I really do mean that. I'm not going to put that on a perennial guy that's in the mix like a Garrett Cole, for the sheer fact that I think in the beginning of the year, the Yankees are going to be more worried about pitch counts, things of that nature. And when I say the beginning of the year, of course, I'm talking about the beginning of Cole's year, because he's not going to be starting on time. Like in a normal
Right.
season, Cole is naturally one of my top five candidates to win that award because of his resume and because of what he's done over the years. But going into this
But
particular year, I just don't see it for Garrett Cole.
no, and the last two seasons, they've kind of lessened his stock a bit. But I think he'll be fine. He's a
Yeah, I'm more
tough.
worried about him getting through. But yeah, Savage definitely a candidate for me. Let me ask you, Corey, how do you feel about Shane Bieber this year?
I thought he looked really good last year for this. minimal time he was there. He pitched well. Their rotation is nasty. Like Gausman is one of the most rock solid guys, and he's a bulldog.
I think what helps
Like,
out Gaussman is that he's not expected to be the ace because when they
yep,
first got him from the Giants, it was a situation where he was going to have to be the ace of the staff. But now that he could kind of like comfortably fall into like that number three position, I agree with you, Corey. Bulldog is the right terminology when describing a pitcher like that. But I feel pretty good, all in all, about the prospects for this Toronto team. I gave Boston 92 wins. And I'm going to back Boston up for a second after thinking about it a little more clear. Toronto Blue Jays could be no worse than second. I'm going to give them second with a solid 95 win season.
I agree with you. 95. That was the exact number I was thinking.
So basically, a game better than last year.
Yeah, which is nothing to sneeze at all.
And I'm also going to take it a step further. I know that Aaron Judge, for the most part, is usually a shoe in. That's the MVP. That's what most people naturally land on. And I'll probably pick him going in. But I will say this Vladimir Guerrero, this particular season, I have a feeling is going to carry a big part of what he did in October as a motivation. Now, does that transmit to the whole team? I think that they're young enough, and I think that they're motivated. And I think that they have a manager that's not going to let them live in next year because it might sound stupid, and this is no fault of Don Mattingly or of Bo Bichette, but I'll keep it on Mattingly for a second. I love the guy, as you know. He's my favorite New York Yankee of all time. But at times during last year's World Series, did you feel in one way or another that the light was a little too much on him, given that he wasn't even the actual manager? And I thought it was a little bit of a disservice to the other players. Now, Mattingly's not that kind of guy. I'm
Yeah.
more talking about the way that the sports media was pitching on it.
I also found it weird because he's on the Blue Jays, so I was torn on like I can't root for this, but I also want him to have it at the same time.
Yeah, I'll put it to you
So
like this: if it was a different opponent, um, I may have felt some kind of way. But because it was the Dodgers, even though we didn't get the job done, I did not want the Dodgers to go back to back. And of course, I don't want them to go for a three-peat as we're the last team to do both of those things. Three-peat, back to back, and also make it to four in a row. You know, the Yankees are the last team to do all three of the things I just mentioned. Um, Last thought on the Jays. Is there a last thought? No, I think we got them covered. Toronto Blue Jays, super strong wild card, and a team that could definitely make it to the World Series. So I guess you could figure out who we're picking to win this division.
yes,
How about the New York Yankees? That, folks, is a picture of Garrett Cole hurling a no hitter in Colorado. Of course, this didn't really happen. This is in the show, but just a picture that I like. So a picture that we'll roll with for now. But where do I start? Okay, let's start here, Corey. How do you feel about Aaron Judge's comments?
unfinished business. It's going to be a special year. We want to win USA gold. He's motivated. He's hungry. Um, if he's healthy, he wins another MVP because there's just not a better player. I mean, I love Vlad Guerrero, but is he going to hit 50 home runs? No.
Nah, nah.
Is he going to have an OBP of 470 plus? No. Is he going to have a near 700 slugging? Hell no. There's just levels to it, you know?
No, I'm with you on that.
Uh,
Aaron Judge, more than likely, barring a bad injury, should win another MVP. I think that he's that much better than everybody else in the American League. And the only player consistently on that level is Shohei Ohtani. And people could debate who's the best. But as far as this team goes on the whole, I did want to call out Michael Kay. I did on a recent short. I'm going to call him out here again while we're live.
Okay.
I understand that Michael Kay has a phenomenal position within the Yankees doing the games, but
And he
something
has
that
for many
legitimately
years.
bothers me. Oh yes, it's like what 92 or something, 90s.
Yep.
What legitimately bothers me is that just because Aaron Judge said something possibly moderately passively negative against the organization, why are the Yankees always right, Michael Kay? If they were always right, we wouldn't be having this drought right now.
Right.
And
Nobody's nobody's always right.
And the biggest
Period.
thing that I want to drive home with Judge and why I feel that he has the right to be outspoken more so than anybody else that wears this uniform currently, he took a massive pay cut to stay with this team when he could have got paid remarkably better by the San Francisco Giants and others.
Yep.
And he did that so you guys, meaning the front office, can go out and get him more talent. Now, I thought
Yes.
that on a rental basis, the Soto move was genius. I
Yeah.
loved I loved the Bellinger move. Do
Me
I think
too.
that Bellinger was banking on cashing in off of, in my opinion, a bit of a spruced up resume because he's a former 2019 MVP in the NL? I like Bellinger. I don't think
As
you'll
do
ever
I.
see him. I don't think you'll ever see him put up an MVP season again. But he's a guy that
No.
Judge spoke up for. He's a guy Judge wanted. And Kay was trying to spin it like, well, you wanted Bellinger back and da da da. I'm like, guys, I get it. Third highest pay role in baseball. But nobody's going to tell me that if George Steinbrenner was alive, he's going to go get Weathers as opposed to a Max Scherzer or a different veteran hanging around on the market.
Right. I agree with you to an extent. Um, I think sometimes this fan base gets a little dramatic, but
Yeah, that's an understatement.
um, yeah, you can say that there hasn't been a throw caution to the wind mentality in the Aaron Judge era by the front office at times, not
I mean,
all the time, but
initially,
sometimes.
I would say the very beginning of it is where you saw it when they went out and paid the big bucks to Giancarlo Stanton. It's been
Yes,
scrutinized over the years because a lot of people feel that if
polarizing,
the Yankees would have waited, they would have got Bryce Harper.
polarizing move. Um, love Stanton, one of my favorite players, but polarizing move and kind of holds up the roster with his limited flexibility or no flexibility. But
Yeah, his elbows have been a point of topic lately on socials, and all I'm
yes,
gonna say is this: the guy gets a bad rap, but the guy's tough. He'll be all right.
yeah,
I
he's
am worried a little about if Bednar is up for the task to be that guy because Devin Williams certainly wasn't in the ninth inning.
I'm not. I'm not because I love his mentality. I love his velocity. I love his pitching ability. He mixes his pitches. He throws a curveball. How many closers throw curveballs?
Not too
Like,
many. It's all cheddar and it's all heat.
yeah, and I worry about the rest of the bullpen a bit. Um, but I trust Matt Blake, and I
Yes, I do.
trust the guys they bring in that seem to be nothing, seem to always do well. You know,
Yeah, Tim Hill grabbed him
yeah,
out
that
of
guy.
the Mets trash can. I mean, there have been guys. Look at Clay Holmes, dude.
Yeah,
Look what he got out of Clay Holmes. Now, granted, he worked his way out of the fan favor and the managerial favor, but Holmes
but to
wasn't
get
all bad.
to get any elite pitching out of Holmes was a miracle. Same with Luke Weaver. These guys were journeyman nothing. They were they were left hanging out to dry
I
by
will
the
say this.
Pirates.
I am a little disappointed that the Yankees didn't bring back Weaver. I do love Fernando Cruz. I like Camilo Doval. He could get into his groove of being a ground ball pitcher. And I think the big question mark going into the year is who's going to be the setup man, and I think that's going to be by committee.
Yeah, it will be about by committee at first. Um, Duvall, it's all about control. Obviously, he's a nasty arm, as we know. Um, I like Cruz because he's really clutch and he's got attitude and emotion, and he grunts like a tennis player when he pitches. Like
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, the
Couple.
bullpen, they didn't add big names, they didn't make a splashy acquisition, but I think overall they'll be fine. They'll piece it together
Now I will ask
better
you
than that.
this: Jazz Chisholm, 8 years he's talking, and he's saying this year he's going to be gunning for 50-50. Like if that happens every year. I mean, listen, I like Jazz a lot, but
So do
bro,
I, but you know,
50-50. Why don't you be a little more realistic and try to hit 285 and hit another
right,
30 or so home runs?
right. He needs to stay healthy.
Yeah,
Like,
that's definitely a prerequisite for hitting these numbers. I mean, what Shohei did 2 seasons ago is remarkable, 50-50. First guy to
yeah.
do it. He owns his own club essentially. But
I feel like he does things to just show off. He's like, I can just do this and then do something else, and you guys can't. Like,
absolutely. I mean, he Pete Rose didn't have that pull. Oh, you're talking about baseball? I'm sorry. I know I'm an asshole. I had to say it though. I had to say it.
oh man.
Regular Joes like Corey Rain and Richard Hicks. If something's missing in our bank account, they're gonna let us know, right? And I'm supposed to believe that enormous amount of money Otani was not privy to at all. Guys, come on.
Otani Betts, great duo.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What else do I want to hit on with these Yanks? How do you feel about third base going into the year? I mean, of course, Ryan McMahon, you want the bat to catch up to the glove. That goes without saying. But we do have other guys that can man down that position at minimum in a bit of a rotation. I mean, you got Ahmed Rosario, who I was actually really hyped that they brought him back. This is a guy that has always been a contact bat through over the years, and somebody when riding a hot streak should be getting some starts.
Yeah, and he's always hit lefties. He's a veteran presence. He's taken Dominguez under his wing. Um, I think he's just super solid. I like their bench. I like their options. Do they have flaws offensively at certain positions? Yes, but there's ways to counteract that because you're never going to have a great hitter at every position. But
Yeah,
yeah, the Yankees they scored the most runs in baseball last year. And whatever people want to say, yes, they strike out too much. They have to improve that. But they also have speed. They were eighth in stolen bases. So
that's a
I
stat
think
that you're
this,
not typically used to seeing the Yankees in the top 10 of.
yeah, right. They they had Jazz. They have the stolen base leader in Caballero. I don't think he's an everyday shortstop, but I love him on this team regardless.
Yeah,
So yeah,
and part of the reason why he had those figures, those numbers, was because he played every day in Tampa. But he also was instrumental in getting us into the playoffs.
absolutely.
I like having those kind of guys. I'm not gonna lie. I wanted Luis Arise. Obviously, we didn't get him because I think that one of my issues with this lineup, every catcher is a lefty, including the emergency catcher Ben Rice, who's going to be manning down first. I was
Yes.
pleased with bringing back Paul Goldschmidt on a backup role level because I think that from a professionalism level and from an experience level, okay, here's the picture. You're up a run. It's a playoff game or a huge game in August or September. No knock on you, Rice. I'd put him in the latter innings because of the glove. He also hits
Yeah.
lefties terrifically.
Um, and he's been there, done that. Former MVP, like
Yeah, this team
possible
does
Hall of.
have a lot of former MVPs.
They have a good mix of young and veteran. That they have depth too. Like even in the outfield, as one of the best outfields they ever had last year. But they got two youngsters waiting in the wings in case somebody gets hurt that are awful
I will
talented.
say
So
this. I will say this. It's hard to keep five outfielders on the roster going in. So somebody's going to Scranton. I believe that somebody could be Jason Dominguez. I have a feelings
I agree.
that I have a feeling that Dominguez is going to lose that battle to Spencer Jones.
Yeah, man, it's it's really tricky because I think Dominguez is the better talent, but I think Jones is more polished. He's obviously older. His defense and his base running are way better than Dominguez's. Um, and he
Yeah,
seems to have, yeah, he seems to have fixed his stance a bit. The toe tap, Otani toe tap.
yeah.
Yeah,
I think one of the issues as well is you have Dominguez, who, in my opinion, plays a much better center field than he does in left. But
yes,
if it's not broke, you don't fix it. I think a lot of people, were the Yankees included, were surprised that Trent Grisham jumped on that qualifying offer. So for Dominguez coming into the year, he's like, oh, one of these guys won't be back, so I'll be all right. But then
right.
after things stalled out with Bellinger, it looked like Bellinger was going to go back to the Dodgers and go somewhere else.
Yeah,
He ends up coming back.
yeah. It was very slow developing and in what the actual outfield was going to be. But I do think eventually one of those youngsters gets dealt because I do believe in Trent Grisham. I don't think it's a fluke.
Yeah, he's coming off a career year. And people forget he was the other player acquired in the Juan Soto deal. So how awesome would it be for him to keep thriving? I mean, I thought it was kind of cool last year that for a certain portion of the year he had more home runs than Juan Soto. That was just entertaining on all levels. But
Well,
the fact that Soto missed the playoffs year one away from the Yanks, and Grisham, a guy who was the other person that was just like a throw-in, played such a vital role with this team, it was cool. But to the point I'm making about Dominguez, with Grisham back and Bellinger back, and with Jones emerging, Dominguez might be the guy on the wrong side of things for a trade. Or if Jones's value lifts up, somebody else is going to get traded. It could be an umpire. If the Yankees need an arm, somebody in the outfield is going to go, and it ain't going to be Bellinger. It ain't going
exactly.
to be Judge. So it's between Grisham or one of the two kids.
It's a good problem to have.
I tend to agree. Ben Rice was linked in some rumors, possibly with the issues going on in Philadelphia. Bryce Harper, Dave Dombrowski. I personally think that if Harper goes anywhere, it's going to be the Boston Red Sox
I don't like that, but yeah, you could be right because
because it's
he's a
worrisome.
jerk.
It's a problem that can carry over and linger for the remainder of the season. And while I don't typically go to bat for Bryce Harper, with regard to this situation with the owner, I actually believe that Harper's in the right
I agree.
with the GM, I should say.
Dombrowski, yeah, yeah. I think that marriage is getting close to the end there. The Phillies' window is closing, and he signed that big contract. It's definitely not his fault. They haven't won. He's performed, but
But when I heard
it
Ben
hasn't
Rice's
come
name
through.
included in even the slightest of rumors, I was like, no, no.
Nah,
My my little guy Noah, he's an interesting fellow. He
the
doesn't
Yankees
go
love
for
him.
the he doesn't go for the status quo of like the most popular. I mean, don't get me wrong, he likes Aaron Judge a lot, but his
Yeah,
all-time
sure.
favorite Yankee is Roger Maris,
That's awesome.
based on him getting to understand the 61 movie and him being around
Oh man,
to witness what Aaron Judge accomplished. Then you got his current favorites, actually Ben Rice.
I love Ben Rice, and the Yankees do too. They're not going to trade him because he's just got so much potential, and
I
he's a
will say
good
this
kid,
though. How many
coachable. Like,
people
yeah,
how many people knew that Ben Rice spoke fluent Spanish?
right?
I was mind
Yeah,
blown when I saw that. Mind blown. Final total to Corey. We picking these guys to jump the Blue Jays. What do you got them? We had the Jays at 95 wins. Where you got the Yanks?
I got the Yankees. You'll like this one. I got the Yankees at 95 also, but they're going to win the season series and they'll win the division.
I like it, and I like it a lot. Yeah, why not? For
That's
a
pretty
second
good, right?
consecutive year. Yeah, second consecutive year. Uh
Wouldn't that be
that's
ironic?
I mean, it wouldn't blow my mind, but the Yankees absolutely have to play better against the Jays this year.
They have to because they did okay. Like they handled Baltimore. Um, I don't quite remember their record against Boston, but they didn't do that great against the East. So definitely that has to improve. And yeah, Toronto. I mean, all these teams are going to be, even Tampa. They're not going to lay down. This is going to be a bloodbath every night. Like
One thing that I was happy about with the Yankees last year is that they did beat the teams they were supposed to beat. Because
yes, and you
for
have.
years, the Yankees have had that kind of propensity that they'll
Yep, at times, yeah.
they'll beat a premier team and then they'll go lose 2 out of 3 to somebody in the bottom third of the league.
Yeah, you
But
have to beat those teams. There's bottom feeders, the White Sox, and you have to take care of that. The Yankees usually always dominate the Central, so yeah.
yeah, I tend to agree. I think the most resistance coming from the Central in a head-to-head situation with the Yanks is undeniably the Tigers. I consider the Tigers another World Series contender. I like their rotation. Well, I don't like their manager. They have a good manager. Um, George Lombard, Corey, will we see him this year?
No. Huh.
However, Anthony Volpe, the clock is ticking.
Yes. The clock is ticking. He has a lot to prove. I won't count him out, but it's now or never. We'll see.
All right, I like it, Corey. You and I both have the Yankees winning the American League East. What's your World Series prediction? Who's coming out of the American League representing the World Series, the
Uh,
American League in the World Series?
um. Wow. Hmm. I know who I want, but I have to be honest. I'm just gonna throw it out there and say Seattle and the Dodgers. I know that's not what Yankee fans want to hear, but
All right.
I hope I'm wrong. I want to be.
Yankees, Dodgers rematch. If they're gonna three-peat, let it be against us since we're the last team to do it. I'll go as far as saying that the Dodgers are gonna win the World Series. And although I love the Yankees, I don't think anybody's beat the Dodgers. I think the Dodgers, the closest they were going to get to losing right now with that squad they got was last year. And when they didn't lose last year, I said, "Oh wow, this is scary."
Them getting Tucker and Diaz just, I mean, it's ridiculous.
Oh, it really is. They are that damn good right now, and there's no denying it. But you and I both have the Yankees at 95 wins. You have Seattle winning the American League. Who they beaten in the American League Championship?
They are gonna beat the Blue Jays.
Aha! So you got the Yanks winning the East. You got the Blue Jays going to the ALCS.
Yep. But I hope
All
I'm
right.
wrong.
I hope you're wrong too. I might be the eternal optimist, but I'll be taking the Yankees and the Seattle Mariners in the American League Championship Series, and those Seattle crybabies can reopen their little MVP gripes.
When Cal Raleigh returns to 35 home runs and another 220 season. Yeah.
Yeah, about that. Yeah, that was wild. Good show. Gonna be chopping this up into shorts momentarily. If you haven't already, please make it a point. Like and subscribe to the channel, the Richie H. Jr. Sports Podcast. Sorry if I'm sounding a little nasally. I've been fighting this annoying cold, and I'm not in as bad shape as some of my coworkers at my less fun job. But I must admit, everybody seems to be dying at work right now, and I'm like been trying to avoid it. But at minimum, definitely on the little bit of the rundown side. But still hanging tough. And
And
baseball's around the corner, man. So definitely fired up about this. Usually when the Super Bowl ends, I start my countdown, and I'm very excited that we are closing in. And I will be taking opening day off, and I'm gonna hang out with the former namesake of the show, Jordan Patrick. Absolutely,
one more thing I want to mention.
yes, sir.
CC Sabathia, they're retiring his number.
Yeah, ain't that something, man? And people forget he didn't just pick the Yankees going in. He was the most tenured with the Yankees than any other team in his career. I mean, he had a cup of coffee with the Brewers in
Right.
between the former Indians, who are now the Guardians, and our New York Yankees. One of the biggest free agent acquisitions in the history of the club.
Absolutely.
That's up there with I got to think about this where I would rank that, but it is. I don't know if I'd put it right on Reggie Jackson territory, but it's up there.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I know Messina didn't win a ring, but I think he's up there too.
And I would also have to go with Hideki Matsui as well. If we're talking trades, uh, undeniably a franchise altering trade was Roberto Kelly, who was an emerging star, but Bernie Williams made it easy to move on from him.
Paul O'Neill.
To Cincinnati, yes, for Paul
That
O'Neill,
that
and a
changed the
couple of
course
other
of history.
ones. Yeah, I tend to agree. And I think they traded David Wells at the right time because the God's honest truth is, although he did have that one stellar season in Toronto after he got traded, I think Clemens for Wells and Homer Bush was just the right move.
David Cohn, huge trade for the altered the franchise in a lot of ways.
I do want to hit on that real quick. We were talking about Mattingly for a second. I noticed you have him as your avatar today. Interesting thing about Don Mattingly last year. He exercised so many demons that it seemed like everything was going his way. On Toronto's bench, he beats his former club, the Yankees, the only team he ever played for. Then they beat the team that gave him the loss in his final career game. Then in the World Series, he heads to against the team that gave him his first managerial experience. Joe Torre helped him get that job.
It was all full
And
circle.
to even make it more full circle, that one dude that I still don't know who it is that is always wearing the Marlins gear at the Yankee games. It was Mattingly won manager of the year there as well. But yeah, baseball is almost all the way back, Corey. Thanks for hanging tonight. We're
Yeah,
going to be
man.
doing a jumbo baseball show within a week or so of opening day. We're still going to be hitting on other divisions in
And the
various segments.
WBC.
Yeah, WBC's around the corner. Who's your pick over there, Corey?
Oh man, it's USA or Japan.
Yeah, yeah. I think the Dominican team has a lot of offense, but I'm a little skeptical about the pitching.
Right. Yeah, I just think USA and Japan are just too stacked. USA's pitching is better than the last roster they had. They have Skeens and Scooble. It's wow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's hard to beat that. Is Puerto Rico going to be competing? Because I know that they were teetering on it.
I know they had some issues with what like insurance, like
I believe it was
covering
an
the players.
insurance.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. Um, I don't know if Lindor's even going to play anymore. I know he was bowing out at one point.
And also with the current injury, he would probably be off there anyway.
Right.
And I think Edwin Diaz, after his celebration, he probably won't be there because I think the Dodgers will be like, really, buddy? Uh,
Yeah.
but Puerto Rico is usually like a team that I would say finishes in the top four. They're a scrappy bunch, but yeah, I'm with you. I think it's either Japan or our guys.
And yeah, I'm rooting for USA. I hope it's, a legendary matchup, Otani pitching to Judge or something like that.
Yeah, the WBC could definitely be very rewarding. I mean, Marcus Stroman was able to con quite a few teams into a contract based off his WBC performance in the past. I have
Oh
no bad for
man,
Marcus Stroman, but
me
dude,
either.
why couldn't you just go to the pen?
Right.
Still could have helped the team. But I'm gonna help the team and get off of here because I can see that my nose is caving. I could barely speak right now. For Corey, I am Richie. This was the American League East preview. Shorts are on the way. We are out. Go Yanks.
See you guys.